and
innovate
for the better.
It's about being open to people and to ideas.
We believe that we can bring innovation in this world.
Welcome to the second part of this session about nature and our relationship with it. Why don't we listen more to nature is the question. It's a difficult question to answer. We already had a take from Alexander Daisy Ginsberg, and next up is Jasper Bloemen. He will try to address this question too. Jasper, you're a creative director at Glimpse Bio.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jasper. What does Glimpse do?
Well, we are a bio-innovation agency, and we offer services to companies, startups, and local municipalities to translate what we see as natural knowledge, to translate it in actual proper action, towards sustainability, for instance.
Yeah. Do you have any specific examples for that?
Yeah, so I will talk about one project that, for instance, we're doing. We're working on waste streams of spent coffee grounds. I mean, we all drink coffee, so we produce quite a lot of spent coffee grounds, and we are trying to valorize that into coffee soap, for instance. And so we're actually valorizing these natural resources within the coffee. It's plenty of polyphenols, for instance, in there, and we're putting that in the right products and sustainable products. So it's circular economy meets bio-innovation.
All right. I'm looking forward to your speech.
Okay,
Go ahead,
thanks.
Jasper Bloemen.
Okay, so some would say that our relationship with nature is broken. But I would actually say that it's rather complicated. They say it's broken because we feel disconnected from nature. We're living in a city and nature is outside of the city. But I would say it's complicated. It's complicated because there's a very big paradox in how we approach nature and how we engage with nature. And we see that paradox at different levels. For instance, we love to go out and look for nature. But at the same time, we see that our natural environment is facing the threat of climate change and of loss in biodiversity. But even at personal level, we see this interesting paradox, and that's what I want to talk about for a minute. Now, for instance, now springtime. I mean, everybody love, or not everybody, but most of us, we love to garden, right? Or to go out and to plant some stuff, to see things growing. I mean, there are even on the internet these kind of memes saying what fulfills people or what gives people power, and it's growing a tomato. It's not money or anything else like that. No, it's growing a tomato. So we love to grow plants, we love to grow veggies, but at the same time, we hate it when nature is absolutely taking over. If we see, like this strawberry, there's a fungus growing on it, we completely dislike it. Or we get a fear and we throw it out. Or like in gardening, weeds, we take them out. So from the moment nature is taking over and it's growing, because it is as well growing, then we have an imminent fear of it, and especially for microbes and bacteria. Now, another example is, for instance, we go out, for instance, on holiday, and we look for nature to relax, to get rid of the daily hustle and bustle. So, for instance, in Japan, they call it Shinrin-yoku, it's forest bathing. Or even in Scotland, they prescribe nature to their patients. And it's known, it's like there's a term for it. It's as well reconnecting to nature, it's biophilia. It was a term coined by Edward O. Wilson. So we go abroad and we look for these far-off destinations packed with nature. But at the same time, in our own garden, what we love to do in our pastime, right? It's mowing. So we keep this control of nature, and actually we're getting rid of the nature feeling just in the nearby surroundings, which is actually very, very strange. So it's again this paradox. So it's not that complicated, because actually what we need to realize, we are a complete part of nature. Because we are, for instance, we are walking ecosystems. We are packed with microbes. Around 1.5 kilograms of our body weights on average are microbes. And most of them you can find in the inner gut. So again, these walking ecosystems. So we're part of it. But there's even more to that. We are so strongly connected to nature, it's really in our core, there are 4 letters that connect us to nature. It's ACTG. It's the origin of life. We even have a common ancestor called Luca. It's the last common ancestor. So you see, we humans, we are so connected to nature, it's not about us and them, it's only about us. So I believe that we need to rethink our perspective on nature. We need to see that we are part of it. And we need to rethink in a way that we can actually collaborate with nature. And then it becomes really interesting, because that's what the future is about. And that's what Glimpse with Bio that we're actually working on. It's about seeing nature as the most brilliant architect and engineer on this planet. But the biggest challenge is actually to translate this concept of the nature of nature as an engineer, actually to translate that into man-made concepts. But actually we see that industry and even businesses are picking up. A good example is, for instance, is this shoe, the Stan Smith shoe, launched by Adidas just last week. Well, this is actually, it's a perfect example of how you can use nature's intelligence to make sustainable and new materials. This is actually a shoe made from mushrooms. It's mycelium, it's a below ground part of mushrooms, and it has been used to actually produce a leather alternative. And they did that together with another company, Boltreads, who has been working on this technology for years, and now finally they launched this first prototype. But it's not only about constructing, it's also about decomposition and about decomposing of the materials. This is a t-shirt made with paper pulp and with algae, the green color. It's by the company Vollebak. And it gives an illustration how nature actually perfectly works. So you get this decomposition of the material to the minerals and the basic ingredients. And it's not only about consumer goods. We see that nature as well inspires other companies, for instance, in architecture, because as said, nature is our best engineer on this planet. We see that these bricks, for instance, they are made with bacteria that can actually secrete a calcium carbonate that you can, for instance, find in seashells. And actually that solves the problem of concrete cracks, because we see as with the man-made concrete that we're having problems with it. And these bacteria, they take care of filling up those cracks. So these are examples where you really start from the technology and you use nature as an inspiration for making technology that's sustainable. But you can as well start from the waste stream, because in circular economy as a concept, it's something that we actually copy from nature. For instance, we have been, as said before, we're working on this project with coffee grounds. And in Belgium, you can find around 100 million kilograms of spent coffee grounds per year. And we're actually, based on the concept of circular economy and based on all the nutrients that we find in there and all the interesting components that we find in coffee grounds, we are, with our project Café Circulaire, we are valorizing that into new projects. So we're using that concept of circular economy, and we see what nature has put in these beans and in the spent coffee grounds, and we're using it to make these new products. And that's, again, this future, but from this waste perspective we're starting. So if you want to grow, and if you're thinking about this growing concept again, I think we need to grow in another direction, and we need to reconnect again with nature and start collaborating with nature in such a way that we can design new products or new materials and even new foods, for instance. And I believe, from this bio-innovation perspective with Glimpse Bio that we have, that actually this is the only way forward to go actually work on this more sustainable way of living and actually to go towards a society that is way more circular than we have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasper Bloemen. I love the work you're doing at Glimpse Bio. Seeing nature as the most brilliant engineer on the planet, it's obvious and innovative at the same time to state so. What do you notice that people think or say when you put this out?
Well, they feel triggered, but they find it in their heads. It's the biggest challenge to translate it into what can I do with it. And that's for us as well the biggest challenge, to overcome this perspective, because you can bring it in such a way that it becomes very fluffy and very dreamy, and that you think like we can do like use spiders for this and that. or whales are the solution for climate change, which potentially is, but you need to still translate it into the economical concept that we have as humans have, and that's just, I think that's the biggest challenge of all.
Yeah. What's your moonshot with Glimpse?
My moonshot, it's we have 2 moonshots, okay? Always be
We've got
ambitious,
only
right?
one moon, but you can shoot several
or a
times.
Mars shot and a moon shot. We want to go for a biorefinery. So we want to get rid of petrorefineries, and we want to go for a biorefinery where we actually collect these organic waste streams like coffee grounds, and we valorize them into new products, and we bring them into a new circular economy.
And do you then think of plastics, or well, it won't be plastics, but something like bioplastics, or?
No, I really think about new products, and because for instance, for specific application, I don't think the concept of plastics still work. I'm thinking about edible plastics, for instance, made from algae. So it's something completely different, and I'm more thinking about consumer goods, or more thinking about new resource for really setting up a new chain for companies. Yeah.
And the other moonshot?
Yeah, the Mars shot. I would love to, because I saw the work of Alexandra, and I visited Ginkgo Bioworks, for instance. She was talking about with the resurrection of the sublime. These kind of collaborations, we don't have it in Belgium, and I would love to have this design, because what they're really good at, this company, it's bringing together designers, scientists, and entrepreneurs to work on really this big challenges that we're facing, because I believe that there is the solution to it all, to bring these different mindsets together and to come up with solutions that are really will help us to tackle these challenges.
Yeah, that's what this festival also is about, to be open to each other and to listen to each other and come up with absolutely new ideas. Thank you so much, Jasper, Bloemen, for your contribution. Thanks. It's time to invite our third speaker, but before we do so, we have to refresh the stream online.